Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lackawanna City Council caucus and meeting for December 18th, 2023. We usually begin at 6:30 for our city caucus, wherein the council members have an opportunity to discuss or debate, ask questions about the individual agenda items. And then right after that, we call the meeting to order and proceed with the voting on each of the agenda items. To that end, we will begin with agenda item number 4 for discussion, communications from division department heads. From Commissioner of Public Works, submits to the council communication advising council that branch pickup schedule is being adjusted to match the single item bulk pickup that occurs the first full week of each month. With this change, the window for pickup is being extended from the first full week of April and will continue through the first full week of November. Any of the council members have any questions or comments on item number 4?
How will the public be informed other than today?
I'm sure we put on the Facebook.
Okay, very good.
Normally would be in our local paper, but we don't.
We'll Facebook it, we'll robocall it, we'll do what we need to do.
All right, very good. And then we'll do whatever we can on our end to inform residents as well.
Anyone else? Item number 5, Director of Public Safety requests council approve sale of a 2006 Lincoln pickup police vehicle. Proceeds will be placed in the Police Departmental Code A3120.0250. Director of Public Safety asked to be excused today. Anyone have any comments on item number 5? Moving on to item number 6, communication from our fire chief, requests council approve sale of a 1988 Simon Duplex 100-foot ladder platform. This will be replaced by the Rosenbauer ladder platform, ordered 2021, and hopefully received in the next couple months. Sale will not be complete until the new platform arrives. Anyone have any questions on item number 6? Item number 7 from our Director of Recreation, Brian Laxo, who is present. Request City Council approve and authorize the mayor to enter into contractual agreement with Musco Lighting, Sports Lighting, LLC, in the amount of $319,657 as part of its Veteran Stadium renovation project. City's portion is $9,809, with the balance paid by money allocated by the American Rescue Plan. Director Laxo, anything you want to add on that for public consumption?
Well, as you know, we had a meeting with the mayor and various members of the council. I wish everyone could have been there to see the Musco presentation. It's very impressive. The savings, I'll backtrack a little bit. Our lighting system is antiquated at the stadium, and our aim is to still utilize the same lighting towers, but change the bulbs themselves. If we wanted to change and just update the bulbs, it would cost as much because they're so difficult to find. It's a dying technology. We're upgrading to LED lighting at the same cost that it would take to replace, bless you, that it would cost to replace the existing bulbs with the same models. So this needs to be done one way or another. The lights are failing. It's for the same price we can upgrade to the new lighting, which is going to help us realize a 50% savings due to energy efficiency for our lighting at the stadium. We've got the ability to remotely control them and put them on timers so that we can control exactly how much power we need for each individual event at each individual time, and eliminate waste in that respect. The $9,800 fee is just that's the only part that's going to be paid out of my budget line, which covers the cost of structural and engineering inspection of the towers themselves, just to make certain that they are structurally viable. And that being the case, that they're ready to move on this in the spring.
Has there been an inspection structurally?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So that could possibly result in more costs?
Potentially, that's not what the representative from Musco believes. Upon, his visual inspection of it from the ground, he said it looks as though they should be good to go as is. You do the inspection, obviously, to look for any underlying problems, but he doesn't anticipate anything, and if there is the potential for additional costs, we'll know about it at that point.
And the technology used to examine the structure is pretty advanced.
Yeah, there's drone work that they do to visually inspect the length of the tower, the nuts and the bolts of it. To be honest with you, I couldn't get into that detail. I'm not certain what exactly it consists of.
All right. Thank you, Director Laxalt. Anyone on the council have any questions or comments on item number 7? Moving on to item number 8, again from the Director of Recreation, request City Council approve use of Veterans Stadium by LA Sports Club on Saturdays and Sundays, May 4th, 2024, July 26, 2024 for flag football, as well as use of Franklin or Victory Playground for practice Tuesday or Thursday during the same time period. Insurance document was provided. We've done this before with them, haven't we, Brian?
Yearly.
Yeah. Any other comments for us, Brian?
No, just a continued relationship with the LA Sports Club. They do a lot for our community. Happy to help them every time we can.
Yeah. Any members of the council have any questions or comments on item number 8? Moving on to item number 9, our city assessor, Deborah Skalski, who is also present, requests City Council approve the ordinance, the sale of 22 Edna Place to Lackawanna, Davia, in the amount of $5,000, assessed value is $6,900. Property was acquired through foreclosure through Erie County. Deborah, anything you want to add to that?
Just that it's not a buildable lot by our standards. It is adjacent to her property. She wants to fence it, have some little extra parking there for her grandchildren to play, and I think it's a good move for the city since it's between 2 houses and no one's come up other than her with wanting to purchase it, so.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Go ahead.
What's on the other side of this lot?
A house,
Another house? Do we own any other property adjacent to that?
No.
Or in front of it or
No.
behind it?
Nope.
And it's a non-buildable lot?
non-buildable lot, 30-foot wide. There was a house on it years ago. It was torn down. We acquired it in 14 through foreclosure with the county.
Is Edna one of those dead-end streets off of Center?
Center. And all her taxes, excuse me, are all paid up on her property and have been. She's never been in arrears or anything, so she's a good citizen.
Great, thank you. Any members of the council have any questions or comments on item number 9? There was submitted a corresponding ordinance for our consideration also. Thank you, Deborah. Moving on to item number 10, Director of Development. Requests City Council implement a 90-day citywide moratorium on all cannabis-related development activity. The 90-day pause would allow the city time to complete legal and other research on potential zoning code changes. Director Acting, Chuck, you want to give us any background on that?
Yeah, this is an open item from the transition of development directors. It's been open since the summertime, and basically what happened is the zoning code and planning protocols of the city were never updated. There are some early starts, but never finalized. So this is causing a number of issues. Ms. Morano in the clerk's office, code enforcement and public safety among them. So working with the law department, with our code enforcement folks and the mayor, we put together a recommendation that the law department is researching right now to address how to handle the 12 different cannabis licensing options that the state offers, and we've got 8 different zoning areas throughout the city. So this recommendation lays out how we would handle those different licensing types by zoning type, and the 90-day moratorium is really just a request for enough time for the law department to do their work, and then from there allow development and code enforcement to work with all appropriate departments, including this council, to get it implemented.
And since you've been involved in this, Chuck, would you think that the vape slash tobacco requests that we've been receiving might also be considered under the 90-day moratorium to give us an opportunity to take a look at those. Grace, our city clerk, was good enough to look up in our records, and it's determined that we have at least 9 vape shops already in the city.
I would say that would be a wise move.
Any council members have any questions before I direct a comment to Rick, our city attorney?
In regards to the last question that you posed, Council President, would that include the licensing for the business registration that's on today's agenda if we were to vote for the moratorium and to include vape shops? And smoke shops?
Yeah, good.
Okay. And I only question that is because with the cannabis industry, it would be where they would become licensed after, so they wouldn't be a fully established business where they are not putting up so much capital to open up a business and then ultimately be rejected. Whereas with this individual here, with the business registration, they're able to set up shop and have their inventory, which would ultimately jeopardize their livelihood.
Well, isn't that a little bit premature? They don't know if they're gonna get a license from the city, so they would be setting up at their own risk, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I agree, but I do believe that it's been a model that other businesses have set up shop, prepared business, the structural aspects of the business, including inventory, and then meanwhile applying for a business license where they kind of operate simultaneously. So that may impede on their ability to operate.
It may impede anyways if we feel as a council that there are too many vape shops in the city already.
I agree. But
What do you do with people who may be currently in the works of opening or wanting to open a vape shop and are putting inventory in locations that we don't even know of?
Right. That would be at least us not knowing and further impeding their ability to thrive. Whereas with this one, it's already on the agenda. With the moratorium put in place, if it were to be put in place today, at least the people would be on notice that the city is setting limits.
Let me ask you this. What would happen if the council denies the license?
For the individual here, the
Yes.
business registration, then they're back to square one and not being ultimately able to proceed with their business.
So again, they proceed at their own risk financially, right?
Right, but I do believe they also were given, not just them, but it's customary across the board to get a provisional license.
Not anymore.
No, not
I
anymore?
stopped in September.
Okay, so for all businesses or just for tobacco?
No, going forward, all businesses.
Okay, and is that a decision that was made by the council?
Actually, it's in the code that states that the clerk's office may provide a provisional license if they see fit. We've run into so many difficulties in providing provisionals and having people get information to us that in September, I stopped handing them out.
Okay, and prior to September, if you know, how long has the city been issuing provisional licenses where it's become kind of commonplace for?
Well, it's immaterial in my opinion.
I'm sorry?
It's immaterial in my opinion.
Understood, but when things are kind of set in place, it's kind of hard to regulate it after the fact.
Well, what's hard to regulate is if a temporary or provisional license is granted, and then the license application comes before the council and gets denied. Now we talk about an investment, they're up and running. Now what do they do, right?
Right.
So in my opinion, I think it was a wise choice by the city clerk to stop issuing provisional licenses to avoid that potential difficulty, both for the prospective entrepreneur and for the city to consider these applications when they come before the city council. Because any application, therefore, that's made before the city council could be the argument you just made. Well, they invested all this money in it. How could you deny the license? Well, it's putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion.
I agree, but, I always did wonder, how and why provisional licenses were issued with, ultimately knowing that they could be rejected on this level.
Yeah.
I always wondered it, but
I have an
it's-
answer for you.
I'm sorry?
I have an answer for you.
Okay,
Jeff DePasquale was the city clerk at the time. I don't know if anybody did it before him. But he felt that because the city council doesn't meet but twice a month, that these people have to wait to file their application and for us to entertain it. And there's a time lapse in between so that they can't open in the meantime. So he thought it would be better to allow them a temporary license to open so there's no delay, which I can understand to a degree, but on the other hand, it creates more problems than it resolves. I think it should be incumbent upon the applicant to know what the city's procedures are, do the research on it, and find out what they need to do before they invest any money in opening up with the potential that they're going to be denied.
If I may interject,
But, Councilman,
one of the problems was, I don't know how many years ago we started that, maybe 2-3 years ago with doing the licenses. One of the problems was, it was taking 6-7 months from when they filed their application to when it was inspected and all the people that had to go inspect. They were, I don't know what the problem was, why it was taking so long. It wasn't because the council meets every 2 weeks. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
well, a lot of the information wasn't forthcoming because of the applicant himself or herself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm saying, they filed their paperwork and then it was taking 5-6 months before it came before us. So it wasn't because we only met twice a month.
Well, that was part of it, according to what Jeff DePasquale said.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
So,
Anyone else?
and we did have a lot of problems with people already having a license then. Well, why do we even have, what are we here for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
All right, anyone else?
yeah, so I guess my question would be, would today's moratorium also include the tobacco shops that we're questioning, or what is our vote tonight based on? Is it strictly for the cannabis, or is it all inclusive, exclusive just to cannabis? Like how, so we know what we are looking at as far as a vote.
Well, I was anticipating asking Rick. The request from the Director of Development can be amended from the floor by a council member to include a 90-day moratorium, not only on the cannabis-related enterprises, but also to include any vape or tobacco shops, correct?
And you
we
can
have
make
to
it,
take the amendment first.
right, and you
vote.
can make it effective, you can also add in the amendment that it's effective tomorrow, so that you could at least vote on other matter that's on the agenda today.
Yeah, if that's what the council wants to do.
Right.
My question is if the.
Just don't amend the amendment of the amendment too many times.
Exactly. The question then becomes, though, why put a 90-day moratorium if we're going to pass
Well,
this?
I don't know,
right?
I don't know anything about this. I don't know if it's in close proximity to another vape shop.
I know nothing about it either.
I don't know what the answer is to that. That's,
Yeah.
That's, I guess.
Yeah, thanks.
It's kind of like the old gas stations in the 70s, you had 4 corners and you had 3 or 4 gas stations,
Yeah.
Eventually they put each other out of business. So if you keep adding vape shops, eventually they're going to put each other out of business, I guess. I don't know, maybe not. I don't vape, so.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. Is that 90-day period in either instance for the cannabis or the vape shop sufficient time to look at it and
Okay.
decide to do with the zoning?
Can I have the floor for a few minutes? So explain to you what I found out.
Sure.
Okay, so let's talk about cannabis. So when the New York legislature voted to allow cannabis in New York State, you had an opportunity to opt out and you could prohibit cannabis within your jurisdiction or whatever. Some municipalities did that, others didn't. We didn't. So technically, right now, we're just subject to the state law, okay? And the state law covers cannabis licenses for retail distribution, for on-site consumption, and for, I'll call them distributors. Okay, so there's at least 3 licenses. There's probably 5 or 6 licenses because I think there's cultivators and other things. But right now, under the state law, the city's preempted from adopting any law, rule, ordinance, regulation, or prohibition pertaining to the operation or licensure of registered organizations, adult use cannabis licenses, or cannabinoid hemp licenses. So I guess the question is, does a 90-day moratorium fall within that preemptive area? It may not. I think it's a moratorium. It's not a complete prohibition. And then the statute goes on to say that cities may pass local laws and regulations governing the time, place, and manner of the operation of the licensed adult use cannabis retail dispensaries and or on-site consumption. So if we have a request for a retail dispensary or an on-site consumption, we can control by local law, whether it's by ordinance or local law, the time that the business is open, the place where the business is opened, and the manner of the operation of the licensed adult use cannabis retail dispensary. Provided, as long as our laws do not make the operation of such licensed retail dispensary or on-site consumption sites unreasonably impracticable as determined by the board. So I think to some extent, our regulation or our ordinance or local law that we're going to develop is going to control, how close they are to each other, number one, how close they are to churches, to public schools, public playgrounds, whether they're in areas where, it might be affected by noise or other things. Traffic, for instance. I mean, do you want an on-site consumption dispensary on Route 5 where, someone could come out of there and pull into a lane where cars are traveling 50 miles an hour? I don't know. So anyway, those are factors that our licensing can do. So with that being said, I think the moratorium will pass muster with the state but 90 days, I wouldn't go longer than that. We can always, if we pass our law, you can lift the moratorium, right? So getting back, your question was related to.
Is the 90-day moratorium sufficient
Sufficient?
time to develop a policy for the city and pass that policy and enforce it?
Well, if it's done as a local law, it may take a little longer. But if it's done as an ordinance, it could be done quicker.
And if we need to, I believe we have the authority to extend the 90-day moratorium too, right?
Right. And right now, I'm unaware of any licenses that have been passed in the city of Lackawanna. We did get notified of 1 or 2 individuals who are applying for licenses. And I found that statute also. But before I get to that, right now, under the state license, you can't open an adult use on-site consumption license within 500 feet of a school or within 200 feet of a place of worship. That's the state law. So that's pretty much all it says. But under the licensure regulations, when somebody applies for a license, they send a notice to the city. I'm going to put those notices in front of the council because under this statute, we can write an opinion letter to the state, and the state will consider the city's opinion before they grant the license. So that's the purpose of that notice to us, so that you can write the state and say, we have no objection to this, or we object on the grounds that the requested licensee may have had, say, 300 code violations in the city of Lackawanna. I'm just using that as an example. Or you may say, although it's within 200 feet, or it's just over 200 feet of a school, it's close to playgrounds and places of worship, all within that community, and given the traffic patterns in that area, we don't think it's appropriate. Or you might say we have one a block down the road from there. So they will consider those factors.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
When the notices come in, who in the city entertains the notice to respond to it?
Well, I don't know who they're going
They-
to.
they come
Maybe
to
they're
me.
coming to the
Clerk's
clerk.
And I've been giving them to you and the Director of Development.
Yeah, I have to look at, I think I have 2 of them.
You should have more than that. I think there's like 4 or 5.
All right, so I'll go over that with you tomorrow, and we'll get those on the agenda immediately so that, because it says no more than, I think the notice comes out no more than 30 days or less than, no more than, there's a 30-day and a 270-day rule, so
If we
I think
pass the moratorium though, what happens to those applications?
well, they're still gonna go to the state for licensure. If the state approves them, okay, they won't be able to open until our moratorium ends.
But the state won't approve them until they get approval from the city, correct?
We can write the state and say we have a moratorium of 90 days and the city's passing some reasonable rules or regulations that will affect the time, manner, and place where they operate. I think that's the appropriate way to do it, because the state may write back and say, you can't do that, or the state may write back and say, okay, we'll make our license effective after the 90 days, or something like that. Okay? Does that, and I'll do a memo, I think, to the council. But I'll talk to Grace tomorrow, and the ones that we have received already, I will disperse to the council members with a memorandum, so that if you feel that we should write or notify the state, we need to do that, I think, as soon as possible.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Attorney Judah, if you don't mind,
Can I ask one, I just want one other point before I go forward. There was a request for the one on Abbott Road where they were gonna, remember that was on the, for
Yes.
business license? I asked the gentleman to amend his business license.
Yes.
Their license was actually rejected by the state.
yeah, you told us
Yeah,
last-
and the reason it was rejected was because that facility, they wanted to use a vape shop.
Right.
And vape shop, they won't let you do it because there's tobacco products sold within a vape shop.
Mhm.
And they don't want the two connected in any way, shape, or form. So I guess that's a good,
Well, I heard he is selling it because I got a request from a woman in Orchard
well,
Park.
that's fine.
No, I'm just saying.
He'll have to
she's
close the
selling-
vape
Or
shop.
he's selling cannabis?
The shop.
He
Selling
may,
the
So
yeah,
he's selling the establishment?
he may have to close the vape shop and then put in for a license.
Right.
The state may consider that, but that's different. Yep.
Okay. Well, let's.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So if you could just clarify, if you know, the process does the state, does the city have to approve the business license first in order for the individual to then submit their paperwork with the authorization from the city to then be issued a license to sell cannabis? What comes first?
So they need the state license.
I'm sorry?
They need the state license.
So,
So under the statute, they have to give the city at least 30 days notice, but no more than 270 days notice before filing an application. So they go and when they're ready to file their application, they send notice to the city. After they then file the paperwork with the state, and then the state has a board that reviews them and has a number of factors that they go through. Okay, now how long it takes that board, I don't know. Once the state approves them, they have to come in and get a business license. However, we've opted out, and I think unless we can show that it's within 200 feet of a place of worship or 500 feet of a school, we're gonna be hard pressed to deny a business license. Again, unless the individual involved is suspect or there's some other mitigating factor. It's next to an orphanage or something like that, or some, some, you know,
daycare.
something where you just don't want the two, an ice skating rink, you know what I mean? So, but once we have our local law, and then you may have it may be a little bit more restrictive, then they're still gonna apply for the license, but they're gonna have to abide by our local law.
So there's no ability for the city to limit the number of cannabis shops being open in the city, is that right?
I would argue otherwise, because what you read earlier says that we do have, the ability to set limitations.
We have some regulatory authority, but
You can have reasonable regulations, however, you're not gonna prohibit, it's just like, I mean, do we really have the authority to limit the number of vape shops? We can set certain rules and regulations for them,
well, we
which
could
will,
set
in essence,
within the
limit
thousand.
them.
We
but-
could change the,
Yeah,
we could change the state regulations. Instead of 500 feet from a school, it could be 1,000 feet,
right,
right?
right.
And we could also put in there, as far as vape shops are concerned, that there shall not be more than one vape shop within a certain radius of an existing business.
So number one, you're not gonna want them in a residential neighborhood, okay? So if you eliminate the residential neighborhoods, it leaves really the main streets, Ridge Road, Abbott Road, South Park, Route 5, maybe to some extent, Electric. And then if you have, say, 500 feet of a school or a place of worship, you can go down Ridge Road, you can start right at the foot of Ridge Road. What's you've got the church, then you've got the old, what was it, St. Barbara's? What is that? Is that a daycare or where the crossing guard is every day? That's a little school.
We have the mosque there too.
Yeah, so basically from the foot of Ridge Road to almost the bridge, you're gonna be hard placed to put something in between there.
Right.
Going over the bridge, what have we got? Well,
You got the library, you got the basilica, you've got,
yeah, so maybe, closer to Electric, you might have room for one. I don't know, you know what I mean? But the state also considers the proximity of them in relation to each other before issuing licenses. It's one of the factors they look at. So I think overall, they're not gonna sprout up like vape shops. In
There's like
Lackawanna.
two in Buffalo, one in downtown, and they just opened one on Hurl. There's one in Depew. There's no other ones around.
Yeah,
It's,
I
Well,
mean,
they're
I mean-
West Seneca, they're open, oh, the one in West
I
Seneca.
mean, you might have one in Abbott Road Plaza if the plaza will allow it. They may say, no, we don't want that type of business here. I don't know.
My
And then,
understanding is the city of Buffalo is expecting an influx of applications because the legalities have been cleared up by it. So they're worried about that. They put a moratorium, if I'm not mistaken, on cannabis shops and vape shops. I know vape shops for sure, but I'm not so sure about cannabis.
okay.
So they already went through the moratorium route, as far as I know.
Mr. Council President, I can say, just
Yes.
hearing the phone calls that come into development, these inquiries are not just local inquiries. We're getting real estate agents from Michigan, from Ohio, from New York City, within New York State. I'm going to stop short of saying the city's being targeted, but they're looking for pockets of opportunity where there is a chance to open these shops in quick order. So having some definition to our zoning and planning is absolutely necessary, because otherwise we really don't have an ability to answer these inquiries, whether they're legitimate or speculative at all.
So to piggyback off what you just said, Chuck, should it be a requirement that the applicants go through zoning and planning first and get their approval before they open a shop? West Seneca, I think, does that.
Well, we did include in the recommendation that we reviewed with the mayor and that Rick is doing research on, we did include zoning and planning requirements, as well as the distance measures that City Attorney Judah was talking about. So we've put in some pretty thorough recommendation to cover all of it. Now it's just a matter of how fast we can get it implemented.
And hopefully, once we have those rules in place, by the time you get to the business license, it's gonna be a stamp of approval,
right.
because their state licensure will be met, and they'll be through zoning and planning, and we'll make sure that they're within the, you know, the parameters of what rules we establish, so.
Rick, forgive me if I missed this. Do you know yet what the distinction is between implementing through local law or through ordinance? And
So we have a local law just takes, it's longer, there's a public referendum, certain things have to be done by local law. That's why we do most of our rules and regs by ordinance. It's just easier, it's quicker.
Where do we
Are they
stand on this?
binding?
Where do we stand on this, all these rules and regulations? We're working on it right now, or we're halfway there, or almost finished?
So, it's in the infant, it's in the early stages, but I don't think it's all that complicated.
no, no, it's not.
We've got a copy of what Seneca did. I've got the state statutes now.
To answer your question,
I think we just need to go through the zoning and see what our zoning classifications are.
Right.
I mean, by the time we come up with a rule, we should be able to come in and tell you basically the 3 or 4 areas where they're gonna be allowed.
correct. And we did put together a comprehensive outline of an idea. I mean, Mr. Jude is right. It's infancy, needs a whole lot of conversation, but we're not at the point where we don't know what we want to recommend. We've got ideas about how this goes from zoning, planning, and through the distance measures that the city attorney was reviewing. So it's now just simply a matter of moving it through the review and research process.
Yeah, then the only question I have is if it goes through zoning, does zoning have the authority to grant the variance if the establishment is not zoned for that operation? That would defeat the whole purpose of what we're all talking about.
Well, you have a right to preempt what zoning does as
Right.
well, to the city council, to the city charter.
And ultimately, the business license would come from us, so.
Yeah.
But, isn't it true or safe to assess that this whole situation is very fluid at the state level as well? Like the statutes and the, amendments and things like that are constantly changing, so how
Well,
do we stay
but it's-
biased
But it's pretty restrictive too right now.
in our favor, right?
Yeah,
In
I
the
mean,
city's
I
favor?
mean, you can't even have, if you have an establishment that's a retail dispensary, can't even be connected to another building with an entrance to another building, unless you have security at that entrance stopping people from walking in. It's, and I imagine these rules and regs will change as time goes on. You know, the city attorney's gonna have to just keep you appraised as to what's going on, I guess.
But based on what you read earlier, it does seem like the state is allowing municipalities to run the show per se without making it seem like we're bound to these rules without us having any authority to set rules of our own, which is a good thing.
Well, I know town versus a city example, but West Seneca's already, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about with the city attorney and mayor, West Seneca's already doing. So, I mean, it's a yes to I think it's a yes to your question or to your statement.
Okay, anyone else on that issue?
Yeah, yes, forgive me, I just need clarification so I know what I'm voting as far as tobacco products. Does that include potential grocery stores that may pop up in the next 90 days that are also selling tobacco products? Or do we have to create the appropriate language for exactly what business we are putting a moratorium
I
on?
think it'd have to be specific, and I think we're targeting the vape shops versus sale of cigarettes, cigars, pipe tobacco, or something like
I
that.
think where you mean where the primary products are either vape or smokhouses, tobacco.
But that does not mean to say that we should amend Chuck's request to include, I said that could be a possibility
Okay.
to include a moratorium on that till we get a feel for it. The only other thing that is a suggestion is based on Mr. Mohammed's request under business registration, maybe, because we don't know how many other, well, you know what, look, reading this is strictly a tobacco store. Yes.
Nancy? Well, he is selling tobacco products, but he's also selling paraphernalia that goes around,
Right.
goes with the tobacco products, hookahs, I don't know what to call them, pipes, things like that to go with.
Rolling papers.
So the,
I couldn't tell from the pictures.
so the question then becomes maybe giving us an opportunity as a council to see what's around there, what his intention is to sell, and maybe table this till the next meeting. I don't know, maybe that's less drastic than putting it under a 90-day moratorium. However, we still have to consider the other applications that are pending. So we may have to consider eventually a moratorium there too.
I agree. But the moratorium for tonight's vote would be effective towards any cannabis applicants.
If we just leave it as the
As
agenda
is.
is, yes. Anyone else? If not, moving on to that business registration request, any council members have any questions on that? Or statements? If not, I'm gonna call the meeting for December 18th, 2023 to order. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. City clerk, would you take the roll?
Maflahe?
Present.
Anderson?
Yeah.
Moretti?
Here.
Sirdike?
Present.
Morano?
Here.
Law?
Here.
Development Acting?
Here.
Public Works has been excused. Public Safety has been excused. Comptroller?
Here.
Recreation?
Here.
Public Information.
Here.
And for the record, we have our city assessor present. We appreciate that you're coming here and help clarify that for us. I don't know if you need to stay for the entire meeting, if you want to leave.
I'm good, I can stay.
Okay, but we appreciate you being here. Okay, hearings from citizens.
No hearings from citizens.
Okay,
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 4th, 2023.
Graham moves to adopt minutes regular meeting December 4th, 2023.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to adopt minutes of the regular meeting of December 4th, 2023 as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Departmental reports 1 through 3.
Graham moves to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 3 inclusive.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 3. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Communication from division department heads. Commissioner of Public Works submits to the council a communication advising the council that the branch pickup schedule is being adjusted to match the single item bulk pickup that occurs the first week of each month. With this change, the window for pickup is being extended from the first full week of April and will continue through the first full week of November.
Graham moves to receive and file.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Director of Public Safety requests the council approve the sale of a 2006 Lincoln pickup police vehicle. Proceeds will be placed in the Police Department Code A31200250.
Graham moves to approve request.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to approve request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. The fire chief requests the council approve the sale of a 1988 Simon duplex 100-foot ladder platform. This will be replaced by the Rosenbauer ladder platform that was ordered in 2021 and should be received in the next couple of months. The sale will not be complete until the new platform arrives. Proceeds from the sale will be placed in the fire department budget for maintenance and tire replacement.
Morano moves to approve request.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to approve request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Director of Recreation requests the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to enter into a contractual agreement with the Musco Sports Lighting LLC in the amount of $319,657 as part of the Veterans Stadium renovation project. The city's portion of the cost is $9,809, with the balance paid by money allocated by the American Rescue Plan.
Morano moves to approve request, authorize the mayor to enter into contractual agreement.
Second. Sirdike.
Thank you. Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to approve request, authorizes the mayor to enter into a contractual agreement. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Director of Recreation requests the City Council approve the use of Veterans Stadium by LA Sports Club on Saturdays and Sundays from May 4th, 2024 through July 26, 2024 for flag football, as well as the use of Franklin or Victory Playground for practice on Tuesday or Thursday during the same time period. Insurance documentation was provided.
Morano moves to approve request.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to approve request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. The city assessor requests the city council approve the ordinance for the sale of 22 Edna Place to Juana Davila in the amount of $5,000, assessed value of $6,900. This property was acquired through Erie County foreclosure in 2014.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to receive and file act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Ordinance authorizing the sale, transfer of property located at 22 Edna Place, vacant parcel of land to Juanita Davila. The transfer is to be made in the sum of $5,000 to the city of Lackawanna.
Morano moves to adopt ordinance as written.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. The acting director of development requests the city council implement a 90-day citywide moratorium on all cannabis-related development activity. The 90-day pause would allow the city time to complete legal and other research on potential zoning code changes.
Morano moves to approve request, refer to code enforcement, director of public safety and the law.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to approve request, refer to code enforcement, director of public safety and the law department. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Business registration. Moshin Mohammed, South Park Smoke Shop, Inc., 3047 South Park Avenue.
Morano moves to table business registration request.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to table business registration for South Park Smoke Shop. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
As far as the city council is concerned, any table items or old business anyone wants to bring up or discuss? If not, Morano moves to adjourn today's meeting. I would ask that the council consider we adjourn in memory of Evelyn McNamara, the mother of Liz Wolf, mother-in-law of Dave Wolf. She passed away this morning.
Oh, I just saw it.
So I made a motion to, and
That all?
that all is fine. That all is second.
Adjournment moved by Morano, second et al., to adjourn in memory of Evelyn McNamara. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Wish everybody the best of the holiday season. Merry Christmas.
Happy
Happy New
holidays.
Year, Happy Hanukkah.
I can't believe this is our last meeting of the year, you guys.